us about obviously streaming your teaching. I'm Cary Wecht, and I coordinate faculty development. If you've got faculty development ideas for workshops, training, speakers, anything like that, please let me know. We're always looking for ideas on the faculty development committee. If you want to serve on the committee, that'd be great too. And I just want you to know two things that I'm going to hand it over to him. Well, three things. One is make sure you take food, and at the end, if there's still stuff, take it with you, please, because it'll just get thrown away. But more importantly, I'm going to be sending around an attendance sheet. Please fill that in because we actually are required to track who attends these. And we'll also be sending you a certificate of attendance. And also, within a few days, you'll be getting an email that will ask you for your feedback regarding the workshop. So look for that from me. Okay, all yours.
Awesome, thanks. Well, so we are live streaming right now. And you'll notice, well, it's there, it's actually there, but you'll notice that there's probably about a 30-second delay. Right now, what I'm using is YouTube live streaming. It's not as synchronous as we would like, but that's the way it goes. And if we start to hear a little bit of feedback, I might actually shut this off because it gets a little bit too more. You can actually hear it already, and it'll start to reverberate, and it'll sound really bad. So, but this is one of our options: is YouTube live streaming. It's actually the most complicated option out of all the ones that I'm going to talk about today, but we will go through it, and I'm going to actually have a handout at the end that'll kind of walk you through part of this, but then also take you to some links that will really explain how easy it is. I learned how to, I say this is complicated, I learned how to do YouTube live streaming probably in about a half a day. So it's pretty easy to do. Oops, I got out the wrong one. All right. So a little bit about what we're going to talk about today, because some of this is, we only have an hour, and I could talk about this all day. And longer, actually. For those of you that know this already, I write a column for The Vindicator every Sunday, usually about social media stuff, but I was asked by the editor there to write a column to kind of talk about what 2015 was in the world of social media. And really, if you look at it, it was live streaming. All we talked about was Meerkat and Periscope and all of these live streaming apps that if they're not in your vernacular yet, they will be because it is that popular and it is that important as part of connecting with the world. So obviously, when we talk about anything like this, there are issues that we need to grapple with. The obvious one is tech. Do you have the right technology to be able to do live streaming? And really, if you're in a classroom and you have one of these things, like your entire class probably has, you can live stream right from this. In fact, I have done that. I teach a effective business communication course in the MBA program, and I live streamed to about 47 students this past fall directly from this, and so it worked pretty well. So the chances are, when we talk about, are you going to have the right technology? You probably do. If you have a laptop with built-in microphone and camera, you're probably pretty much ready to go. I'm not even going to try to tackle ADA compliance, right? Look, it's a hot button issue here right now. I don't know if it'll be a hot button issue in 5 years, but right now we're dealing with it as a campus, as so many of us trying to redesign our online courses to be ADA compliant. Live streaming really is not ADA compliant. So you've got to grapple with that issue too. If you're going to be streaming online and you have a student with certain needs, are you going to be able to meet those needs with live streaming? And I think that's something you have to kind of work through and decide. So, you can go back and tell anybody in disability services or whatever I said this, but if you're going to do live streaming, just keep in mind that this could potentially be an issue for you. Yeah.
You hit on a big point, though. It's like if you have a student with needs. What I resent is we have to do it for imaginary students I'll probably never have.
I would love to spend about an hour with you having that debate. 'Cause I agree. Actually, it wouldn't be a debate. You and I'd be on the same side. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean that's been the problem, and I think that's the rub is that the Department of Education wants us to make all these changes, and yeah.
I was just at a meeting today up at Neomed. They don't do ADA compliant syllabi.
Yeah.
Akron doesn't, Kent doesn't.
Yeah, we're what was I saying about like we're the first ones to have to go through a lot of this stuff. We were talking about HLC and state mandated requirements for some of this other stuff. I mean, I think we're it's coming to these other schools.
I agree, and they know that, but not yet.
Well, go ahead.
Non-ADA question. Initially, what were you shooting yourself with to do the Yahoo streaming? Because it didn't look like your laptop would have hit you.
Yeah, it is. It's right here, actually.
Okay.
So I got my camera, and believe it or not, the microphone is strong enough on these Macs to pick you up. Actually, it's probably too loud right now with me standing right here. But yeah, so it's streaming right now. Now, we're going to get into this, but I actually have another piece of software on here that's actually doing the streaming to YouTube. But we'll get to that in a second. Yeah.
Is it recording or can it record?
Yeah, actually, that's what it's doing. It's live streaming and recording at the same time. Interestingly enough, how I got turned on to this was in YSU athletics. They were Bo Pelini when they did the big press conference. They live streamed it. And I'm like, on YouTube? That's really cool. Went in, checked it out, and like I said, like a half day later, I was up streaming stuff right on YouTube. And it's okay for some things, but other things, maybe not. There's a bit of a learning curve, obviously not just for you, but for your students. So, sometimes it takes a little bit of hand-holding, getting them to the right place, getting them to get set up, especially with our online students. You want, if you're streaming a lot of content for online courses, that becomes an issue. And then choice. And I say choice because there are so many choices for live streaming. I'm using YouTube live stream to do this one right now, but really, I mean, and one of my favorites now is blab.im. And you're gonna see it in a second. It's only 6 months old, and it is the coolest live streaming platform I've seen yet. I mean, it is fantastic. And now they finally have an app for iOS, so for Apple products, and they're slowly rolling out Android. I know I'm an Android guy on phones and Apple and everything else. And Android always feels like we're the redheaded stepchild. So anyhow, okay. So some ideas for streaming. I mean, we're going to talk about what you can stream. Speaking of streaming, and by the way, you probably have people in your department that do this and do it very well. One of the guys that just walked in, and everybody can look at him. There's Jeff Tyus. Jeff's been doing live. Yeah, no, that's okay. Jeff's been doing stuff like this for years, doing video capture. I think are you guys using Uvu?
We're trying to use Skype for business that YSU has invested in.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, this is what I'm saying. I mean, there's so many choices out there for doing this kind of stuff. So it can be really cool. Okay, so I'm going to roll through about 10 ideas real quickly, knowing full well that there are a lot more out there. And some of mine that I'm going to put up here are discipline specific because I come from communication, so those are the ones. But think about how you can incorporate things like that in your classroom. Obviously, the first idea is to teach, right? Stand up and lecture, kind of like what I'm doing now. Lecture, give some information, maybe you have a PowerPoint in background, and that's the kind of content that you would stream. And you could do it and then have it recorded, because you were asking about does it record it? Yes, so you would have it recorded and then have it available for playback for students who may have missed that stream. Okay, so they can just go to YouTube and download it. All right. Flip. We talked about flipped classrooms. I mean, you probably hear that a lot. So basically what this means is you would go out and live stream some content to your students, and again, have the option to record it, so that they're able to talk to you about that content that you live streamed in class the next day. And so it's good for using that class time to devote to projects and discussion and things like that. And if you don't know what a flipped classroom is, just go into Google and type in flipped classroom and you'll get like a gazillion definitions of it. So, Exam review, obviously, you could have a lot of fun with this. Set it up like a game show, where you're the host, and all of your students are the contestants, right? And so as you're asking questions, and somebody pops up an answer in a live feed or something like that, directing students to kind of maybe even design some of the questions for the exam might be a way to do that too. But BlabIM is really good for this because you have an audience participation panel as part of the platform that we're going to see, and that part's really cool. Obviously, brainstorming. So I say storm, but brainstorming. And we define brainstorming and communication as just idea generation. So what we would do is present the audience with a problem and have them generate ideas, not solutions to that problem in that live format. Advise. One of the knocks that we get for online teaching is not being available the same way we are in our traditional setting to advise students. So you could set up advisement hours in live stream sessions. And the great thing about that with BlabIM is that you can have their camera actually open up so you can watch them, they can watch you, you can talk back and forth. You can set it up to be private or public. So if you need to have a private advising session with that student to talk about something more serious, you can do that. I put up seminar, but we could also do what's called a webinar. Same kind of thing. If you're an expert in a topic, and I'm kind of getting away from the classroom a little bit, but if you're an expert in a topic, for example, drilling, right? So fracking, things like that. I mean, if you have, I keep thinking about the experts that you have come in. How cool would it be if we had them in that environment and you could be fielding questions from around the world in that live stream? That could be a possibility too. Groups, this is fantastic for group projects, especially Google Hangouts. I know we've talked about Hangouts and Hangouts on Air, which we'll talk about in a second. And then BlabIM, very similar to Google Hangouts. Actually, it's kind of funny. If you go out and search for Google Hangouts and BlabIM, there are stories about BlabIM taking over Google Hangouts and destroying Google, which is kind of funny, but we'll see how that goes. But for group projects, lots of opportunities there to get students in that session all at the same time talking, and you could actually have a blab set up where it's 4 students talking all at the same time. You sit back and moderate it, right? And just watch them talk. And then it's being recorded for playback so that they could go back and do self-reflection of their participation in that group. And that's one of the big things that we teach in communication. Like, well, how do you know that you're becoming a better group communicator? Well, we don't really get a chance to go back and watch ourselves in meetings. So this would be an opportunity to do that. I have a typo on here as it says presses, but it's pressers. You can set up like mock press conferences or real press conferences, something like that related to an issue or a topic in your field or in one of your classes. You could have a debate. And again, when you see the Blab platform, you'll see this where you could have 2 students on one side and 2 students on the other side debating back and forth, and again, with you serving as a moderator possibly. We've talked about possibly hosting live news shows. One of the things that we're always striving for is in our discipline, in our department, is to give our students live media experience, live production experience. They get a lot of that with sports, but we think this would be a cool way to get them live news broadcasting experience. Well, live news, it's not broadcasting, streaming experience. Okay. So that's just 10 quick ideas. I'm sure you're all sitting around right now thinking, wow, okay, that's great for his discipline, but man, there's a lot I could do with this. With anybody from nursing? Yeah, so I'm thinking specifically of like clinicals and like if you're doing like assessments or something like that. The labs, yeah. I mean, there's just so many applications, obviously beyond our discipline and communication for this. So those are the ideas. Real quickly, these are the streaming platforms that we're going to look at. Blab.im, and that's the domain is IM, so it's not so it's not a .com. So when you go to type in the address in the address bar, it's blab.im, and then Google Hangouts on air. By the way, I'm going to send this this PowerPoint to Cary, and then if you want to distribute it, you can feel free. And
I'll put it out with the assessment.
Awesome. And then I have a handout too that everybody's going to get too. That'll have a lot of this stuff on there, and I'll get this to you too because I think there was one person that wanted to be here today that
There
couldn't.
were
So
a few that had to cancel. So
Okay,
we can send it
yeah.
over.
and if anybody else wants this stuff, just let me know and I'll send it to them. So I say groups because these two platforms in particular, and there are others out there, but these two platforms in particular are good for groups. And what I mean by that is you can be in a session with your students all at the same time. Now, Jeff's talking about Skype for Business. Kind of similar, where you can have multiple heads viewable and everybody's talking all at the same time. You learn some interesting turn-taking norms, some new norms, because it doesn't have this synchronous feel to it. It does, it's supposed to mimic this, right, and mirror this a little bit. But it's also not purely synchronous. It's what we call near synchronous, right? So there's a little bit of lag, there's a little bit of delay. So usually on these sessions, somebody will be talking, and Jeff, chime in too, because I know you've experienced this, right? Where someone will be talking and someone will want to interject, but they kind of have to wait a second until they're sure that that person's done talking because of the lag, right?
Usually the person who's talking, at least in Skype for Business, and I believe in Google Hangout, they have the full view where everyone else is a little square
Yeah.
on the bottom. So you know who sort of has the floor because they take up the full screen.
Yeah, and so their head kind of expands on the. Now
You
that's
have
not.
to be speaking in order for that to occur.
Yeah, and it has to recognize you speaking too, right? It has to pick up your voice and that you're the person. Yeah. Blab.im does not do that. Google Hangouts does, and you'll see with Blab.im that it's just four heads just talking. So, okay. And then I say individual. So if you just wanted to stream lecture content, just wanted to teach, if you wanted to do a flip assignment, if you wanted to do some kind of exam review, anything like that, these platforms are pretty good for that. I mean, we're doing the YouTube stream right now, and again, that's it's not clunky, it just takes a little bit extra effort, and I can walk you through that. The two big ones that were launched about this time last year, and I remember this because I was going to do a talk in Tulsa, and everybody at this conference was just buzzing about Meerkat and Periscope, right? And who's going to take over and who's going to be there. And they're both still pretty active. Periscope kind of emerged as like one of the probably has more subscribers than Meerkat. But they're both still really good. And they both, they encourage audience participation. Now, when I say that, you can't have additional faces on there at the same time, but you can have people on there like liking your stuff, commenting on it, asking questions, and we'll go out and look at I just actually pulled up one of those on, it was either Meerkat or You Now, but there's an award ceremony going on in Britain right now as we speak. It's live there because it's, 8 o'clock there now?
6 hours.
Yeah. So, some kind of music awards because they had 3 people in front of this camera. They were all like, they were watching the TV, but the scope was on them or whatever, and so it was like they were talking about the awards and they were answering people's questions that were popping up in the feed. It was kind of neat. So I put You Now on here. Just be careful with all this stuff. You Now is good, but you know, it's a bunch of kids. I don't know how else to say thank you for laughing at that, because you know what I mean. I mean, it's a bunch of, this is a you know, a stereotype of this generation is coming up, is that they all want to be on camera. My kids, they still beg me for their own YouTube channel. And my kids are 10, 8, 5, and 3. It's the 10 and the 8-year-old who are constantly, they want their own YouTube channel. Yeah, because they see other kids out there with their own YouTube channels, and they want to be on there being goofy and funny, and then we have the talk about privacy and all this other stuff. But anyhow, but when you see you now, it's like, it's prolific. There's kids on there just talking about nothing and answering questions on the feed that are just absolutely absurd, right? And some of them get a little gross. So that's why I say be careful, because some of them get a little too out of hand. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. I say thanks, questions, but we'll get to that. Okay, so let's go and look first at BlabIM. And I'll just show you, this is what happens as soon as I'm probably going to turn down the volume a little bit. Oh, real quick, because Periscope and Meerkat are only available on iOS and Android, there's really no way for us to get in here and view it. Right, so you have to use your phone. You have to download the app, right?
Are they all free?
Yes, yeah. Even the encoder for the YouTube stream, I'm gonna direct you to an open source encoder that's free. The other ones you can pay for, but you don't have to. Okay, so this is BlabIM, and actually I'm gonna go to a different one real quickly here. Let's go down. How to build your Twitter audience. Okay, so I am in Blab. And I'm going to go to full screen. Okay, and so let me try to explain the layout here. Okay, so first of all, how do you get access? You go to BlabIM. The only way you can get access to BlabIM, and this is the catch, only way, is with your Twitter address. So if you don't have a Twitter account, and you've been ruining the day that you would have to create one, right? Today's the day. So you don't, now even though you're creating a Twitter account, you don't have to tweet. No one's saying you have to become like this next superstar on Twitter. And you don't even have to follow anybody, and you can close it down where you don't have to have anybody follow you, right? But if you only wanted a Twitter account just to get access to this, it's pretty easy to set it up, right? So once you create your Twitter account, you sign in to BlabIM using Twitter, and I would start by going and looking for a Blab that you might want to just watch for a little bit. I can tell you that Kenny Reyes in the back does one for Caribbean Swing, right?
For a radio show for Mercury.
And you do that live while
While broadcasting.
broadcasting, right?
Yeah, we had people from Jamaica, Bahamas, who chimed in and were...
Now, while you're on here, are they sending you song requests?
They'll send song requests, or they'll send, they'll send, like I asked them when I went on break, what's the native music of the Bahamas, and they send Cancun and Calypso.
Oh,
it was really cool. I was able to pull, since the music that I played is Caribbean, I was able to pull some of the things I went to YouTube.
Yeah.
It was quick to find something and pull it in and interacted with them.
Yeah.
And they liked me, and I think the person liked like 87 times.
Oh wow.
Cool.
Yeah. And that's what.
And it's really hands-on interacting. So when I went back on air, I was able to interact with her and communicate, and then tried adding her on to as a co-host which will pop her up, and then you can see them in the viewer.
Yeah, I don't know what just happened to the viewer there, but yeah, that's exactly right. So let me see if I can.
And then they can get on their camera, and then you can communicate back and forth.
Do all of these record as well as
Yeah.
stream?
Yeah,
Yeah.
You have the right to record, and you can pause off record kind of.
So what you just turned on is live right now.
Yeah.
It's not recorded and being replayed.
Right, and you can look at the recorded ones, and then they'll save a link for you to them too. So if I go back out to, I love how this still says beta too. I mean, this. You know what beta means? You're testing this,
Yeah.
right? So you become a beta tester if you get onto Blab IM and start using it. Until it doesn't say beta anymore, I guess. But underneath my profile, if I click on this, I can start a new Blab. I can change my profile settings and all that. Actually, let's look at this real quick. So it'll ask me, well, what are you going to talk about? And then I can go into test zone for this one. Do I want to add a custom image? And you'll see a lot of them will add custom images for their classes or for their whatever their topic is, right? Do you do one for?
Yeah, I have our
Yeah.
logo.
And Kenny, so Kenny times his for when his show comes on. So you can either set it up to go live now, or you can set it for sometime in the future. And if you do that, it'll ask you, like.
It gives you the date
Yeah.
and what time you want to set it up for.
So if we wanted to set it up for this, and then time and all that. So if we wanted to go live now, start the Blab IM, and
Can you restrict it to just your class?
yes, you can. Well, you can set it to private and then only give the link to the people who are going to be in that class. Yeah.
And they all have to have Twitter accounts.
Yeah.
Is there any problem if it's being recorded with having permission to record them? Or is it by the fact that they've joined it, they've just given it?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. Yeah. You know what? I'm not really sure. We could find that out. So I've got a Blab set up, and now I'm in something called Test Zone on Blab, which means there won't be anybody really interacting with us. They know that we're just testing it out and trying it. So one of the things it'll ask me is when I set it up, do you want to share this with all of your followers? For some reason, I have 34 followers on Blab. I don't know why. But yes, maybe Kenny's one of them. All right, Kenny. Yeah, all right. I'm following you, I think. So click yes, and then it shoots them an email saying, hey, Adam's on Blab right now, doing a show, come check it out, kind of thing, right? I don't think you can customize the message or anything, but that's, so
So you'd have all your class follow you.
And if only your students were following you, then it would be fine, but,
Now, can students follow without actually popping up? In other words, can they follow, listen, and not?
Yep, so they would all be over here.
So you still get your back of the classroom folks who are just listening and not saying a damn thing.
Right.
They're still hiding from us.
And
Just
remember
like
too, that this is the other thing. I mean, this is not a problem for me because I make my students get on Twitter. And half of them are already on anyway. The students have to be on Twitter then to access this. So to be able to even ask questions in here, by the way, they can ask questions in here. They can also post questions on Twitter and Facebook that would pop up in here as well. Yeah.
Is the camera the only way you can communicate, or can you show them something on your computer screen as well?
I think the only way you can do it is just on your camera right now.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you wanted to show them a PowerPoint, one of the ways I saw somebody do this was they had a separate camera set up that was either capturing their screen, or it was a camera on their monitor. Or
So if
something.
I had a movable webcam, I could just point it at my screen.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what's nice about Google Hangout, you can actually access your desktop.
You can.
So you can do both, and you can switch from Google Hangout.
Okay.
and in Skype for Business as well.
Yeah. Yes. So even though, so you were asking about recording earlier. So even though we're live streaming right now, I'm not recording yet. I actually have to click start recording to record it and save it. And then when I save it, it actually comes back. Go back here.
Yeah, I wasn't able to save mine on Monday.
It should show up under.
Yeah, they were having issues with.
Yeah, it should show up. I was goofing around with this morning a little bit just to record it, but it should show up under profiles. Yeah.
But it only records in true time, correct? Like
Right.
not at the beginning of your blab.
It doesn't start recording until you tell it to start recording. Right. Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us.
Yeah, this guy's talking about sci-fi stuff. He has been on here forever. Well, at least last 6 months.
6
anyway.
months.
Yeah. In social media, though, that's forever. Yeah. So, and then one of the things you can do too, you can always, if you like something that he says, you can always.
So what's so great about Blab if you can't?
Yeah.
Applause?
Yeah.
What's so great about Blab though? Just because you can have a bunch of people on and they can be giving you feedback? Or?
So the first thing I like about it is it's low tech, right? Low startup. So I mean, aside from the fact that they're creating this Twitter account that they might grumble over if they don't like Twitter, it's really easy to set up and it's really easy to figure out the user interface, right? Because they're used to this user interface. I also like the fact that it's all right here. It's on my desktop. And that I don't have to use my phone to do it, although that is an option if you have an Apple phone and pretty soon an Android. So I like the fact that it's cross-platform too. I think that's another.
But you can't share your screen. That seems to be a big drawback for teaching purposes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I'm certainly agree with that. That there's some issues now. Google Hangouts on air is different. Google Hangouts will let you share a screen. So if you wanted to share your PowerPoint on there, you could do that.
Are you gonna put that up there?
Yeah.
Did you want to follow Baked Not Drunk?
Yeah, baby. Yeah. So, I think, why not? Because show some love to my baked friend. All right.
It's like, be careful what you make your Twitter handle.
Oh, yeah.
That'll haunt you.
Yeah, right.
Can you interact any other way than tweeting?
Well, you're not really. So with Blab IM, you can tweet, but you're not really just tweeting. So you can so the ways you would interact would be either on camera, like with video and audio, or on that side bar that's not that you can actually type in a message right there, right in Blab, which some people like because they don't want to have to get onto Twitter to tweet questions and things like that. So yeah. So there's multiple ways you can interact with them. Yeah.
So when your students are there, they can talk to you through there, or are they muted automatically?
Yeah, so they have to be able to call in, and then you have to accept them when they call in. And that's just for the video portion, the video audio portion. They can, if your students are there, they can post questions at any time. I mean, that's not a problem.
How many can call in?
Up to 4. Well, you plus 3. Yeah. And so that's a limitation. There are others. Again, there's lots of platforms out there. I like this one because it's low tech. But Google Hangouts on air
It gives you 10.
10 and Skype. Is it 10 still? Yeah, and they're talking about upping that too, which is going to get kind of crowded. So if you got 15 heads on, they're talking about expanding to 15. You got 15 heads on there, and they all start talking. Now, what they're talking about doing with Skype for Business is a mute feature. And it's very similar, if you've ever done a GoToMeeting or WebEx, right? So, which is like the original in terms of streaming, right? But costly. there was a mute feature on that one where you would just click mute and it would shut down the entire audience until you opened it up for, okay, so then you would say, okay, I'm going to stop here, we're going to open it up for questions, and then people would start, and I think with WebEx, it was there was like chairs, so you picked a chair to call on, like, okay, so-and-so in chair A3 or whatever, something like that.
That new feature is available right now.
It is, okay.
For the person who starts the Skype.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, I figured there had to be.
So if I have more than 10 students, they can't all do Google Hangouts at the same time.
If you have more than 10, right. So what you would.
You can.
They just can't talk.
Somebody else has to invite them in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I've never been in that position where I've had
10,
to.
but they are allowed to invite 10.
Wow.
And
Oh,
so,
each one can invite others?
Yes. Yeah.
That's like teaching synchronous.
So
Pretty close.
We'd have the whole world.
So this is Hangouts on Air, and so Google has two platforms, for lack of a better term here, for streaming. One is what we're doing right now, which is the YouTube live stream, right? And I'm sure it's awful because we only have one camera and I'm moving around. And this is the way I teach too. I'm moving around all over the place. And then they have Google Hangouts. Now you might be familiar with Google Hangouts if it's similar to FaceTime with Apple, right? So you can have conversations with people. Somebody can be home on their computer, and you could be on your phone, and you call them on Google Hangouts, and you hang out on your phone, right? Hangouts on Air, though, is like a very public, like we're going to have this meeting online, and we're all going to get together and talk. And so let me show you an example of one here.
You have to have a Gmail account to access this?
Yes. Yeah, good point. Yeah, by the way, I'm sorry. I'm so used to like scrolling through this stuff. Let's see if we can find a good one here.
Yeah, because I'm planning on doing this summer with Google Hangouts.
Yeah.
And I was reading the fine print, and you have to have a Gmail.
Yeah.
To access it.
Yes, you do. You're right. And but it's the same with YouTube. With YouTube, you've got to have a Google account now too. So it's but like that's one of the first things my students do is they create. If they don't have a Google account, they create one because it gives them access to everything. I mean, aside from Gmail and Calendar, they get Google Drive, and so we use a lot of that stuff. I have no idea what I'm clicking on here, so I'm just gonna. I say that because I've clicked on this stuff before and it's turned out poorly, and I say that in the nicest way.
Well, like in 2 years or 3 years down the road, how much of
No, that's not.
per share is going to be enhanced or eroded?
Yeah, I like how Ben's in the background there.
It looks like he's wearing
Yes.
earphones.
It does. He's
Yeah.
wearing Beats.
Good camera placement.
I wanted to see a hangout.
You want to see a live hangout?
Yeah.
You can create one.
I know, but I really didn't want to do that.
There was another one down there.
Oh wait, there's Q&A. Well, what was that? Did you see something here?
There you go.
Well, here. Now, we might not be able to understand some of this, but I don't think it's English.
Bueno, esa es la página. En la dirección que les acabo de mencionar, que es...
So I'm not sure what's going on right now, but there is.
But that is a presentation, though. I mean, that
Right.
is.
Yeah.
They're probably using their page.
Now, the other thing about Google Hangouts on Air too is that you'll have, in some cases, multiple heads all down here at the same time, so you can see everybody who's a part of the group, up to 10, right? And then, or more maybe, who knows?
But so it doesn't really. I mean, this looks like a YouTube video, basically, right? I wish I could find a good one. I had one pulled up earlier.
These are live?
Yeah. Well, this one says today. That one was live that we were. So if I wanted to create a Hangout, type in a description or a title and a description. And again, just like Blab I Am, I can time it. So if I wanted to start it later, I could. You can list it as public or private. And if you set it as private, you can invite individual people. You were asking about inviting specific students. You can do that there. And in fact, if I go into Google, I can click on right here, and it'll pull up people that I might want to browse that are already in my circles or already in my done.
So that's how students could find you, find your.
Have you looked at something called OBS, Open Broadcast System,
Yeah, actually, I'm using OBS right now on here.
to copy it?
account for this too?
No, you don't. Not for this.
It
So-
says that you do.
Oh, YouTube account?
Hangouts on air.
Oh, Hangouts on Air is yes. On
YouTube.
YouTube, yes. Yeah,
I
yeah.
see
But
you-
you're automatically getting one as part of Google when you sign up for Google. Google owns YouTube.
I know, but I have to do instructions for students so that they know.
Oh,
how to
yeah,
do it,
yeah.
so-
Step by step.
So they need a Gmail account and then they need a YouTube account.
Right.
So we don't need a Twitter account for this, right?
No. I don't know why it's making me do all this. I thought I was signed in already. Yeah. Did you have a question? Yeah. Anybody? Yeah. I'm signed in as somebody else. That's great.
Might be why.
Somebody was already in here today. I must have been. Yeah.
Oh, on that computer. There's a student group at Oberlin College, Students for Environmental Justice, that wants to tie into my lecture series, and we're still in the process of figuring the easiest way to do that. But I asked Mike Z in Media and Academic Computing, and he said YSU is planning on, they're piloting some sort of platform.
Yeah.
And what platform is, do you know what?
Media site. Yeah, so we'll see.
So is that something that we could use as faculty, or what is that?
Yeah, so media site is going to be really cool. And by the way, I'll tell you, we really believe in it, so much so that our department committed $10,000 a year for the next 2 years. That's how much we believe in it. Because right now, okay, so what's communication foundations? How do your students refer to it? Aside from the fact that they probably hate it sometimes, but it's a public speaking course, and that's how they refer to it. That's not just what it is. So we do 3 speeches per student, and we have to capture those speeches so the students can play back and do self-reflection. We are still burning those DVDs with those speeches, and that's like 2019 or late 1990s technology. That's we don't really need to do that anymore. What this will be is click a button, and you can start recording your lecture, right? So you could actually take an entire semester of lectures and record each one of them every day and have them ready to go, ready to serve up. That's what we're doing with student speeches too. So students will go click on one button, they'll record the speech, and put it out in the cloud.
On their phone.
What's that?
On their phone.
Yeah, actually there'll be an app feature for it too. So they'll be able to, right now we have it set up that they'll be able to record it in the classroom. Ken Schindler told me that it costs, if you wanted a classroom set up with this technology, to get the equipment into the classroom, if you don't already have it, if you don't already have cameras and microphones and stuff, it would be anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 per classroom.
But YSU will have some media site equipped classrooms?
Yeah, they're testing it right now. We know that we'll have them in Mog for now, until we move. And, we'll see. And Williamson. Williamson has it too. Yeah, Williamson committed money. The Cause of Business committed money to it too.
And is it Adam, do I understand correctly that it's up to the college dean to fund the classroom?
Yes.
In other words?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, or the department or whatever. yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
So how it differs from the discussion in the blackboard?
Yeah. So
How it differs? Is it?
so first of all, let me back up for a second because media site is not streaming. Just so we're clear about that. There might be an option for that. If there is, I haven't seen it yet. But all this is right now is just
Recording?
video, audio capture. Yeah, yeah. This though is as simple as in Blackboard as creating a link to it. Now, obviously, instructions are important because I said, and thank God I had my effective business communication students, right? Effective business communication. I had to give them instructions on how to get on to Google Hangouts, and I thought I did a pretty damn good job.
Yeah, I have
Right.
to do it literally step by step by step by step.
And I thought, graduate students, I thought,
These are grad
With
students,
no.
oh, no.
trust me. I have
So-
to do step by step.
So I get it. Look, so that's
Yeah.
so you're talking about Blackboard.
Yeah.
That's you've got to have those detailed instructions on how to
Yeah.
get going. Even with something that looks as simple as BlabIM, I mean, you got to have step by step to get access to this. And then obviously the very first thing you want them to do, aside from checking to see if they have the right technology, is to get their account set up too. So, Google or Twitter, or whatever they have to get access to this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, when this is being recorded, is it just being uploaded to YouTube if you're on the Hangouts? Is that where it will ultimately reside?
It's an option, yes. And then so one of the things that we do with groups on Google Hangouts is we'll have them, especially my online classes, I have them in groups. They can be anywhere in the world and do a Google Hangout on air, record it, and then set it to private on YouTube because they don't want anybody else to see it. And then they send me the link to go and grade it, evaluate it.
If you recorded something, or can you take it, maybe do some editing and then repost it?
Yeah, so there's editing software with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing that we do too is transcribe. So because the transcription service on YouTube is deplorable. Yeah. In fact, this semester I did have a hearing impaired student in one of my classes, and I had to stop showing videos until we could get an interpreter because someone do sign language because it was just laughable. I put the closed caption on, and even she was laughing. I mean, it was so bad. Yeah, Kenny.
Oh, I was just saying that your Google Hangouts, once you've recorded it, you can go back and make it ADA compliant by doing your transcribing information that you were talking about.
Yeah.
You can go back and edit it. It takes a little bit of time because you have to do it yourself. But if you have a grad student, you probably have them do it.
so.
Cary, can I steal you for a second?
You can do it.
No, I'm not going to put you on camera or anything.
You can do it right in.
So, but I think I already lost somebody just in case. I mean, we only have 10 minutes left before can you pass out? There's 2 pages. You start there and I'll do this side. Yeah. So what I'm giving you here is basically everything that was on the PowerPoint and then a little bit more with some links. The Google Hangouts on air, and I'm sorry I couldn't pull one up to show you exactly what it looks like, but there's descriptions in there, and there's actually links to YouTube videos that will show you exactly how to set it up. It's really not that hard. So one of the things we did not talk about in depth today is, aside from MediaSite, which is not streaming, but it's still a new service that's coming, is Skype for Business. And a lot of you probably see this now, automatically pops up on your desktop computer at work. And Jeff has mentioned that they're going to be looking into it. Jeff, so are you guys using it now, or you're going to start using it?
Yes, I'm using it now.
now.
Right.
And are you using, what class are you using it for?
For both of my online courses in different ways. In my one course where there isn't any group work, it's more individual work, I do advising. Or if students want to meet with me for office hours, I do it using Skype for Business. In my other class where there's a group project, then they go into Skype for Business to meet and discuss the group project, and then they will go on to present the project where they can have PowerPoint going, they can record it. You know, one of the things, because I use Google Hangouts on air, but one of the things that I didn't like about it was it was outside of the YSU system, so you had to know everybody's, their email account name and all that. Sometimes it was hard to find people. You know, my name on Google or on Gmail isn't my real name.
Yeah.
You know, so it's hard to find me.
Yeah.
I created it a long time ago.
Yeah.
But with Skype for Business, it's connected with YSU. So you use the Microsoft 365 calendar. You go in there and you can arrange a Skype for Business meeting in there. And you just type in everybody's name because everybody has a YSU account.
Yeah.
All right. And so you go through the YSU system. There's no, I can't find somebody. You know, you go through it. If you're a YSU student, you can find it.
And that kind of simplifies too what Ray was talking about how do you get all your students into this. I think that's
right. You just go in and you type in their name, and you can schedule it just like we schedule meetings. You can schedule a Skype meeting. 3 o'clock, meet me there. I'll send everybody an invitation. When you send them an invitation, there's a link that's sent to everybody that says join online meeting.
Yeah.
And they click that, it'll download the Skype app, you know, any plugins and all that, and then everybody will be in the same location.
And I will say this, Skype has
I heard that was, Bill Swan told me that was limited to 4 people.
We are still testing that, so I don't
Skype-
know, because
Skype for
I haven't
Business.
tried it for more than 4 yet.
I've had Skype meetings with up to 10 people in it,
Yeah.
and because we have this international association, and so people are all over the place, and we have 10 people on our board. So this is sport communication. So we have people that are, and they all should. Now I will tell you this, and I don't know if it was because of this particular country that this person was in, but their connection was like 10 times better than the rest of us. I mean, some of our people were dropping out in the States, and they were like, had no problem. I think it was Germany. So there could be some, but that's true for all of this technology. There could be some latency issues.
And that's the other good thing is that you can use Skype for Business to meet with people outside of the YSU environment as well.
Yeah.
There's someone I'm doing research with who's at Ashland University, and we Skype.
Yeah.
But the only way we will be able to see one another is for me using our Skype for Business because Ashland doesn't have anything like that. So I just add her email account into the YSU system, and then I invite her, and once again, she receives the link, and she clicks on it, and we're able to Skype. And then a feature that they just started yesterday, because I complained, right? I think I'm the test person this semester for it, but Skype for Business and regular Skype did not always correlate with one another. So according to Ken Schindler, yesterday they tampered with it, and now if someone has a regular Skype account, you should be able to find them within the YSU Skype for Business system.
That's important. Yeah.
So I haven't tested that yet because once again he said he fixed it yesterday, and I haven't had a chance to go back and test it and see. But we're working on it. I mean, they're working on it. I'm the one that's really testing it with my students.
You're the lab rat.
Yeah, essentially. So.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I just know with Google Hangout, we've done it for rookeries, DJs, because it's really hard to get all the DJs in one meeting at the same time because either they're on air or they may be out around. So we did the Google Hangout. We had over 15 people in just our Google Hangout meeting. Some were driving. Well, it wasn't the smartest thing. Somebody was driving, so.
Yeah. And you'll see that too. With Periscope and Meerkat, you'll see that. I actually did it. My first Periscope was driving up 680. So, and I had it mounted on my dashboard, so I wasn't holding it and driving.
But if you're teaching, I would recommend that you incorporate rules about that.
Yeah.
Because one of my students did that, and that put it in my mind. That, okay, now I have to write a rule.
Yeah. Put it in your syllabus, right? Yeah.
When I was in Minneapolis, we did a sustainability and theater conference that was international using Google Hangout. So there were actually sites in major cities like London, New York, Los Angeles, Sydney, where people could go, and it was actually to save the whole airline carbon footprint thing. And a lot of people participated through Google Hangout with live streaming of the.
I was just going to say that if you upload your PowerPoint to Google Drive and you're able to access it through that, it does play back differently.
Oh yeah.
You can create your own Google slide, which is kind of like a PowerPoint, but I upload all my PowerPoints to my drive just so I've got this extra save in case I forget my flash drive. And the other day I went to pull something up and it doesn't like show the same on the screen, and I think it was a podcast. I was having trouble getting an embedded podcast to play. So
yeah, that's the other thing. They're actually trying to get to all Google Docs with slides and docs, and they're trying to get all of this stuff synced up so that if you are in a hangout with somebody, you could be manipulating content at the same time in a document and all that stuff. Hey, real quickly, because I know we're about out of time, but I didn't do this at the beginning on purpose because I thought we'd have people filter in. Can we go around because I don't know some of these people here. Can we go around real quickly and just tell us who you are and what department you're from?
Sure. I apologize for my voice. Marla Carrano. I'm from Beagley College Ed, the Fertile Department, and Communication.
Jody Cummings from Langston College of Business and Marketing.
Susie Beiersdorfer, Geology.
Do you guys always sit on opposite sides? No.
Terry Benton from English.
Terry.
Michelle Jackson from journalism.
Stephanie Reyes, social work.
Jeff Tyus, communication.
Aaron Bonilla, religious studies. Todd Porter,
Nancy Wagner, nursing.
Audrey Terrell, merchandising.
Susan Clutter, Forensic Science.
Marielle Schiller, social work.
Guy Shebat, English. Amy Chang from Math and Stats.
Yeah.
Kenny Reyes from Communications and Law Library.
Cary Wecht, Creative Arts and Communication.
Ellen Jones, Theater and Dance.
Fellow program review buddy. All right.
Darren Clausen, Computer Science Information Systems.
Doug Price, Chemical Engineering.
Tom Stellers, Teacher Education.
All right, thank you. So thank you all for being here. Sorry we don't have more time. I would actually like to dive into this a little bit more, just to actually, and maybe, maybe we do something with Jeff later on too, because if he's the guinea pig here, the lab rat, sorry. Seriously, because there could be some real opportunities there for looking at Skype and then media site too. So.
And if I just want to mention too that we have faculty learning groups that I think we've got 6 on different topics. If this is a topic people are interested in, we might think about organizing a faculty learning group, and there's some funds to support that also. So just a thought. But yeah, part 2 is probably really
awesome.
Thank you
I'll
so
be
much.
Here. Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot.
Hey, Adam.
Yeah.
So, off the record question on media.